Hailstalkers, we're back here live right now. It is 1:10 p.m. Central Daylight Time, and we're tracking severe weather now moving into the Chicago area. And we've been tracking this storm now really since it hit Davenport several hours ago around 9:30 this morning. This storm has just been anchored onto the warm front, and it is heading right into Chicago now. Now remember, as we start to break this down, the warnings, how they're issued on our system here, on our MAX system, what you can see is we have the black lines. That tells us that we have a destructive tag that has been put on these particular hailstorms, okay? So what that means is that destructive weather is being forecasted to move into the Chicago metro area right now as these storms move in, okay? So now we've seen several severe weather reports. We've had winds over 90 miles per hour with these storms. And we're gonna basically jump in here, and we're gonna buckle down and show you exactly where and who is being impacted by this storm as it moves through the city. Okay, so Justin, let's go ahead and zoom in. Let's show them what has already occurred here as we kind of hone into the city here. So here is Aurora right now being impacted. So we had two pretty significantly severe storms. Now this scan came in a little funny here, so hopefully we can get this to fix here. Because we basically have this storm down here by Aurora, and we have this one right here. You can see the split right here, giving us some issues on that update that came there in the latest radar update here. But we've had several reports already. Justin, let's go ahead and ping this report right here for Kendall, just on the north side. So this is golf ball size hail already reported, again, moving into the Chicago's, to the suburbs here of Chicago. And we've had several reports back here. Zoom in a little closer so I can see some more towns too. So as we get in here just a little bit closer, we'll be able to see, so we had quarter size, we've had several tennis and baseball size reports with these particular storms. And again, moving through Big Brook, here's Aurora. Where's Oswego at? Is that right here? You're gonna have to get a little closer so I can see more stuff. Quite a bit closer. Okay, so here's Oswego right here. Now again, I think we have some data missing right here. So here, great report from Leo there saying that they've got some high wind in Downers Grove. And yeah, for sure, that's not shocking with these storms as they move through. You can see our split here. This is something is wrong with the data, but this storm moved directly through Oswego, dropped golf ball size hail as it did so. Let's query the little rotation marker here to see what kind of data it's giving us as far as what the impacts on this particular storm might be. There we go, so probability, and again, these hail markers have actually been off all day long, so they've been underdoing the size, but we're moving to the northeast at 31 miles per hour, maximum hail size at 1.46. There, clicked off of my marker. Go back to the Aurora marker there, Justin.
Aurora marker?
Yep, I clicked off of it. All right, there we go. So 1.46 is the estimated hail size, but again, we're already seeing reports of anywhere from golf ball to 2-inch hail. Probability of severe hail 80%, probability or severe hail 70%, and there's over 500,000 people, so 500,000 people in this particular warning. And again, that is for this warning right here as it moves in. So if we click on the warning there, so there's what we have. The warning right now for golf ball size hail, 70 mile per hour winds, and we've already had confirmed golf ball size hail in Oswego as this storm moved through. So hoping that we get a new radar update here so we can get this kind of cleared up because we do have some weird data. Actually, hey Justin, I think you have two different radars loaded right now. I think that's what the problem is. This is like a perfect beam, and I think one's overlaid on the wrong one. So we'll try to get this cleared up here so we can really hone in to see what's going on with the details of this particular storm. So again, it's right in here in Aurora. Here's a new hail report just came in for Aurora. Let's go ahead and query this one. We'll see what we've got directly here over Aurora. Golf ball size hail, again, not surprising there at Aurora University now. So golf ball size hail has now moved directly across, and you can see it's not showing properly right in here. Hey, you're gonna have to get John to help you fix this.
Yeah, I know. I think I'm gonna put it back. I'm gonna go back and see if. Something.
The next one.
There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. We're good.
Okay. All right. I don't know if that's the radar data or if he's got stuff messed up on there. It keeps jacking up my radar view. Okay, so here's the storm right here. Here's our core. Our inflow notch now coming in to the center of this storm, right across. This is Highway 34 here, so that runs northeast out of Oswego. Here's Highway 59 running north and south. So here's Aurora. Here's I-80. Remember, we talked about I-80 all day in Davenport this morning, where we had, again, baseball-sized hail move through Davenport. This is the same storm that moved through Davenport at 9:30 this morning. This is I-88, I should say, but I-80 just to the south. That storm is basically just trucked right along this corridor here, all the way across the state of Illinois. So here's our inflow coming into the storm, creating an updraft region right in here. Let's go ahead and query the CCs, the correlation coefficient. What that does is, again, for those of you watching, that tells us where the large objects are falling in the cloud. Here it is right here. Look at that. Justin highlights it there for us directly, just to the west now of Naperville. So again, moving off to the east-northeast here, headed right towards Naperville, right towards Downers Grove, where we already had some reports of some stronger winds. If you're in Downers Grove, though, the bigger hail back to your west and headed to the east. So it's headed right towards you, potentially up towards Wheaton. So we get up here into the 355, the I-355 corridor here. It's going to come right into that zone here, following right down 56, right down 88, and right up 34. This hailstorm just coming right across Chicago right now and continues to produce widespread golf ball size hail as it moves through town. So let's go ahead and flip it back to our radar view here.
Hey, Derek, real quick, John just confirmed that there is 2.25 inch hail in Aurora.
Okay, so perfect. So now hail being reported at 2.25 inch. And again, when we see those low CC values, which again are right in this zone of the storm, which is right, again, inflow comes in, creates lift right here, and then that gives us the core of the storm, okay? So, and that tells us that there are large objects falling. If we switch back to the CC, and notice we have two different storms, okay? But notice the difference. Look how low the CC, the correlation coefficient values are right now coming down I-88. So again, 2-inch hail, lime, potato.
Picks of baseballs in Oswego.
All right, we're getting pics of baseballs from Oswego. So right back in here, baseball size hail. Again, when you have these lows, these greens and blues that are coming down, that tells us that there are very large objects. Now remember, we had a second storm back here. You can see the lower values, but they're not nearly as low as the values with the storm that's right now moving past Aurora, moving into Naperville, okay? So this storm back here, while producing severe hail, not nearly as impactful because, again, just not the same size of hail. And the radar is picking that up by saying that the size of objects aren't quite as big. But again, right in here, and probably the largest hail, look at this little zone right in here. This is going to be the sweet spot of the storm, okay? So just to the, making a V line right for Naperville right now. This is the location that we are most concerned about. And then trickling up all the way into this area is where we're seeing golf ball size hail. So imagine how big this area is, okay? All the way north of 56, we're seeing hail potentially up to the size of golf balls. And then all the way down to 59 here as it cuts southwest towards Oswego. Just to the north of that zone right there, that's where our largest hail is falling right now as this storm moves off to the east-northeast. And again, this is at 1:19, okay? So 1:19 Central Daylight Time right now, tracking this storm that has essentially came all the way from back here at Sandwich, right around lunchtime, and then basically moved all the way to the east-northeast across Oswego, dropped baseball-sized hail in Oswego, Aurora reporting golf ball-sized hail. And again, look at the lower correlation coefficient values on here, telling us that, again, right in here and maybe even extending a little bit further north all the way up here to I-88, just some massive hail is falling. A little bit smaller here, but still very large hail just north of 88 as well. And again, moving off to the east-northeast. Justin, can we get a query of the warning so we can see what the speed is? Maybe just query the warning right here.
Yeah.
Let's see what the speed is. Again, you can see, look at the inflow notch cutting into this storm here, producing this massive hail core right in here as the storm moves off to the east-northeast. And again, so they've got to warn for golf balls. They definitely need to up the size of the warning on that. We've got over 7 million people now. So they have now destructive tagged this storm for the entire metro of Chicago, essentially. So again, not all 7 million people are going to be impacted. It's a fairly compact region here that's really seeing the impacts. But again, The areas that I would be concerned with already moved through Aurora. It's headed towards Downers Grove, though. So those would be some definite impact areas. Let's see here. So this storm is moving off. Does it tell us?
Yeah,
speed?
it's moving northeast at 30 miles per hour.
Okay.
And I've seen pics on Twitter already. I can confirm those baseball reports from Aurora and Oswego.
All right, so confirmed pictures of baseball-sized hail in Aurora and Oswego. Let's go ahead and clear this off. Okay, you can see they've now removed the warning back here for Squaw Grove and Yorkville and Northville. This whole area now, DeKalb, all being removed from the warning. Let's go ahead and switch it back to our correlation coefficient. That's been the thing that we've been watching. Look at this. God, just drop down. Just massive hail falling right now. Again, so now we're in the Naperville area. So here's Warrenville, Naperville, Eola. I mean, just look at this. This is the area that I'm most concerned with right here. So if you can see 34 here dropping southwest out of Naperville, makes the corner, boy, right in there. Just dropping some massive hail right now as this storm, again, continues to move off to the east-northeast through Warrenville. And it's gonna head right up here to 355 right here behind my shoulder, right up 56. And again, Warrenville right now, you're getting golf ball, you're getting tennis ball size hail in Warrenville. Naperville, it's coming in here any moment if it hasn't already started. And again, this is at 1:22 p.m. Now, another thing that we would like to look at here is let's go ahead and query this for high wind speeds because we had some extreme winds with this storm as it moved through Davenport. In fact, measured winds of 90 miles per hour at the airport in Davenport. Lots of roof damage from wind as well. So we had hail and wind damage in the Davenport area. And so here it is right here. So here's our query of the wind. You can see right now the strongest of the winds really coming up here to the north, okay? So not where the hail is actually falling. Not to say that there's not some decent wind underneath the radar beam in here, but for the most part, probably expecting 30 to 40 mile per hour winds. So nothing too crazy coming in from the wind side of things, which should keep windows, home windows and things like that, at least from being busted out, because when we start talking about baseball size hail, that's what we're really looking at. Let's switch back to our radar view here. Again, seeing exactly where this storm is. A massive core, but the area that we're most concerned with right here, right over the 59, I-88, right into Naperville area. This is the area that we're most concerned with for the largest hail right now moving through, okay? Let's go ahead and query this other hail report right down here. The south is the new one, I believe. Okay, so that's another golf ball report. Corrects the time for the previous hail report up to golf ball past 5 minutes. Okay, so just an update to the previous report. But again, we have seen pictures and images coming in from Oswego and Aurora of baseball-sized hail. Okay, so this storm is producing very, very large hail. This storm back here by Blackberry and Sugar Grove, some isolated quarter-size hail possible with that one. But the main show right now is right here in Naperville. Let's switch back to our CC correlation, and you can see the area's gotten a little bit smaller, so maybe a sign that the storm is going to try to weaken. Our quarters basically come up here from 38, from Milton. This is Winfield Road, so it's running right through Winfield Road into Warrenville. The largest hail right now, right on I-88, and where Winfield Road meets in Warrenville, okay? So that's where the biggest hail is currently falling. Again, right here, I-88 at 1:24 p.m., golf ball to potentially 2-inch size hail falling right now in Warrenville, just south of 56, right on 88, and just north of 34 in Naperville. So maybe trying to skirt around the north side of Naperville, not go right through the center of town. But again, really, really close here with where this storm is actually impacting here.
Is that a hail spike, you think?
No. It's probably so go ahead and scatter out. Go back to the radar there. And so again, that's just a lowering and I think the radar data has been kind of messed up over here. There's something right in here that's been throwing things off. Maybe there's a building or something. But again, right here is where our biggest hail. Again, you can see the inflow notch coming in here, and that gives us a good idea. Let's go ahead and zoom out. Let's get a perspective of the whole city of Chicago here real quick. Just to give everybody an understanding of where we're looking at. Keep zooming out because there's some storms to the north too. so that we want to cover everything here. And actually, we've got a storm up here by Rockford. Go ahead and center us on Chicago too, if you don't mind, Justin. Pan this up just a little bit. There we go. Okay, so here's what we have going on. Again, right now we've got golf ball size hail to potentially as large as tennis ball size hail right now on the north side of Naperville. That's the first storm that we're watching. We have another severe thunderstorm up here near Algonquin. Again, all of these warnings tag with what we call a destructive tag. So that's the National Weather Service letting us know that they think winds in excess of 75 miles per hour or potentially up to baseball size hail is possible. And so that's why they do this destructive tag. We also have a severe thunderstorm over here by Rockford. This storm moving across the state line will move into Wisconsin here shortly. And let's go ahead and switch to CC values because that's going to give us an idea of all the different impactful areas that we might see large hail. Okay, so again, here you can see the little area right here. That's where we're seeing the golf ball, the 2-inch, 2.5-inch hail right in here. Okay, that's in the Naperville area. Again, this is that data problem that we're having with the radar. It's impacting something right in here, so it's not giving us good data. Unfortunately, the Algonquin storm right up here is also in that data zone, but I can see some areas right in here. Tells me the hail's not too large, and because the hail's not too large, I'm not super concerned about that particular storm at the moment. Now, this storm up here to the north of Rockford, this storm means business. This is a big-time severe thunderstorm as well, dropping really, really large, possibly up to baseball-size hail with this particular thunderstorm as well. Let's go ahead and dive in here. Let's take a look at this one real quick, and then we'll jump back to the south and take a look at what's going on near the Naperville area. So let's go ahead and switch over to our regular radar. So here it is. Check this thing out. Look at this. This is a beast right here. So this is Roscoe. Here's Rockford right in here. I don't think we have all the road files loaded in for Rockford, so you can't see everything in there like we can in some other areas. If we zoom in maybe a little bit closer, though, we might get a few more roads with the map files to load up. There we go. Perfect. So you can see here's Highway 2 coming out of Rockford. Here's 251 coming up towards the Harlem area. Here's Owen. And again, Rockford, for the most part, kind of tries to extend up a little bit. So there are some folks in here that could have some pretty severe impacts. And look at the reflectivity. Now we've been watching the storm to the south near Oswego and Naperville, and doesn't have nearly the amount of returns. That tells me this storm is dropping a huge volume amount of hail. So if we switch to our correlation coefficient, it tells us where the big hail is falling at, and look at that. Look at that right in there, right in Owen. Just some big time hail falling right now in Owen, just to the north of Rockford. And this particular storm, let's go ahead and query the warning here. See what they've got this one warned for. I assume, hopefully they've got it for golf ball. 2-inch, good job. All right, so that's severe thunderstorm warning till 1:45. So for the next 15 minutes, again, Harlem, Loves Park, McChesney Park, and Rockford in that one. Again, I think the storm just to the north of Rockford, but probably depending on how the city's laid out, you've got some addresses in here on the north side of Rockford being impacted with, again, up to 2-inch hail. So some significant hail coming in and 70-mile-per-hour winds. Let's go ahead and flip this. Let's take a look at the wind speed real quick in this storm as well. So this is something that is a little bit interesting here. So as we take a look, so we could have some out of the forward flank of the storm here. We could see some high winds here in the Harlem area. But I'm also noticing a little bit of where the winds look like they're kind of expanding out here. So potential for a potential like a type of microburst situation here where we could see some more impactful winds happen right here in the core of the storm. And if that were to occur, and we're scanning the storm fairly high up, so it's a little bit difficult to know what's happening at the surface. We're at nearly 8,000 feet up where we're scanning this particular storm here in the Rockford area. But as we scan this, we get a better idea of what's actually happening. And so we're expecting that maybe the winds will come down to the ground and expand out here on the north side of Rockford. And when that's combined with 2-inch to I would even be shocked if there isn't some tennis ball size hail, that can be really significant and really, really damaging. Also kind of seeing the same thing back here in Barrett as a possibility as well. So let's switch it back to our radar, our base reflectivity, and you can see now the storm moving off to the north. There's the storm in Barrett that's causing that potential high wind speeds just to the north of Winnebago. And again, you can see this one kind of scraping off to the north of Rockford. So Rockford itself missing out on most of this. But again, up to 2-inch, potentially even tennis ball size hail. They've gone ahead and tagged this now with the destructive tag. I don't think it had the destructive tag just a moment ago, so they've added that in. Let's go ahead and query the warning. We'll get one more look at this here. And again, this is at 1:30 Central Daylight Time, looking at Rockford, Illinois, just to the northwest of Chicago, where again we have 2-inch hail warned and 70-mile-per-hour winds, and over 345,000 people in this warning area right now. So let's go ahead and head back down to Chicago as this storm again moves right into the Roscoe area, just to the south of Beloit, Wisconsin. We're going to track back here to our Naperville storm. And again, let's switch over to our CCs. You can still see the inflow notch coming in, so we're going to be watching right in this area. Do we see the lower correlation coefficient values with that? So when Justin switches this over here, that should give us an idea of, yep, there they are. Look at that. Just a big, big expansive area. It looked like the storm might have been cycling, but I don't think it did. I think it went ahead and stayed extremely impactful. So this is just north of 88. And again, for those of you just joining us, this is the same storm that came from all the way at Davenport at 9:30 this morning. We did live coverage this morning as it moved into town. And this storm just keeps trucking along here. And it kind of made a turn in the last hour or so, where it's been moving off more to the northeast. And there's the update now, setting right on top of Milton here, just getting pummeled with golf ball size hail, 2-inch hail, 2.5-inch hail, really coming down right now in Milton. We're going to go ahead, let's take a look at some of these storm reports that are coming in here. We'll start from and work our way from east to west here. So most recently, Warrenville. Again, we were doing coverage on this area talking about golf ball size hail. There it is, it's confirmed. So we'll go back here just a little bit further west and north. These should be a little smaller, but that's impressive to get that large of hail that far north. Ping pong ball size hail at 115. If we go a little bit further north here, one more report up here, quarter size hail, which is what we'd expect. As we go north, we would expect that we would see the hail size come down. So Downers Grove said he's getting some hail right now. We appreciate the report there coming in from our YouTube channel. If you're not watching us, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on a lot of different platforms. So make sure to track us, to follow us. It gives you plenty of opportunity to keep up with our live coverage. If we come back down here to the southwest, right on the I-34 corridor, what are the reports here coming in, Justin, right now? Just to the southeast of Aurora, we have a report here of golf ball size hail. I think we're going to have some bigger ones that are going to come plucking into here as we kind of zoom into this area. Let's go ahead and zoom in, and we'll come back up here again. Large hail falling right now in Milton, okay, just really right on the 38 corridor here. But we're going to continue to zoom in, keep going in a little bit closer here to this whole cluster of severe weather reports. So that way we can kind of query some of these. We've already done that one. Let's look at that one. There's a whole bunch of them that have come in. Just tells you how impactful this event's going to be for the Chicago metro area. I mean, we're talking about a significant hailstorm impacting Chicago. And again, from about 1:10 p.m. starting in Oswego and has been moving to the east-northeast and just blowing this city up with large hail. So we're going to keep querying down here to the south. Again, we had golf balls. We have golf balls there. We have another report just to the south of that one that came in. Baseball size report. That's, again, we've been talking about there were baseballs in this storm as it moved through the Aurora Oswego area. Right down here, we've got another report that came in. And this one's going to be for quarters. And again, sometimes with these reports, we have to be careful because, this could have been put in by a storm spotter as the storm started, and then he might have moved or taken shelter and not seen the worst impacts of the storm, or he potentially could have been just outside of the most impactful part. So again, parts of this storm do produce quarter size hail, but other parts are producing baseball size hail. Go ahead and query this one just to the northwest here. Another quarter size hail report there. And then I think as we go just a little bit north, I think we get a little bit bigger hail potentially. Quarter size again there. All right, so let's go back up here. We're going to go back up and track the storm live. So as you can see, now continuing to move off. We've already got a report of hail here in the Milton area. So we'll go ahead and query that, which was in a pretty significant area, maybe a little bit further to the west. Okay, so this is at the College of DuPage, which is a really, really great meteorology program up there in the Chicago area. they're seeing large hail now getting hit with ping pong ball size hail. This is I-30, this is Highway 38 right here, 355 running north and south. 355 now, we're seeing hail on 355. I can only imagine what the traffic is like on 355 in Chicago right now. Everybody trying to run north and south and just beginning to get pummeled with hail here as they come up on the Highway 53 and the Highway 38 junctions right in this area, just getting obliterated right now with ping pong ball size hail, golf ball 2-inch hail happening just a little bit further to the south and west. And all of this moving to the east northeast and is going to come right over 355, headed up towards York, somewhere between York and Addison. 290, you're going to get this one as well. There's our new update. Look at that. Just an expansive area now. Big hail falling right on 355. So York, Addison, all in the path of this here. Here's 355. Here's 64. Everybody that you see getting green is getting large hail right now. So we're talking at minimum golf ball size hail falling across this entire expansive area. And this storm just continues to go, okay? Justin, I think we have a product that will show us 1 hour hail streaks. See if you can switch to that radar view. I'd like to show everybody exactly what's going on with the path of this storm, because this storm, like we've been talking about, this storm came all the way from Davenport, Iowa. How about that? It's moved all the way across the entire state of Illinois, okay? Just dropping massive hail in doing so. Now, it's cycled up and down a few times, and it's changed directions. At times it was moving east-southeast. Now it's moving to the northeast, and you can see the path here. Now, can we turn off the LSRs on there? Yep. LSRs are local storm reports. So we flip those off, and now we can see there's our storm up by Rockford that we were talking about. We can see the pulsing up and down of this storm here. We'll have to come and take a look at this one again as well. But as we see this path, look at this as it comes across. Now, again, we know the radar has been underdoing the size a little bit. So, but just getting an idea of the path is just impressive to think about, okay?
Yeah, keep in mind that's only 1 hour. I mean, that thing
Yeah, so this is an hour. It came all the way across down 34, all the way back here to the west, and went all the way back to again, Davenport, Iowa at 9:30 this morning. So it's been going for a long time now. So we'll switch back to our standard radar view. Keep us zoomed out here. And, oh yeah, flip some semis. Yeah, I've seen several reports of semis with the high winds. Let's change this over to our correlation coefficient again. I want to get an idea if there are any pockets. So is this that zone where we're having the radar trouble there? Flip it to radar for me real quick just to see. Now there's a storm there. So let's go ahead and take a look at this one real quick. So it looks like we may have two storms now. We have one here and one here. So we're gonna hone in on this storm here that's really over the Campton area headed towards Wayne. And again, this is 31 right here. So we're gonna watch this as it moves off to the east-northeast here towards Wayne. And let's flip over to our correlation coefficient. There it is. Look at that. It really drops down. Can we go back a frame or two just to take a look at a couple of different images here to see what this has tracked? Look at that. Look how it perfectly brings it in there. So you can see right here just to the northwest of Blackberry, the storm will come up. It'll cross over 38. There it is, over 38, dropping large hail. Now it's setting on 38 and 64 as it moves off to the east-northeast. If we zoom out just a tad here, let's give them some perspective as to where this storm is headed, because not going to be shocked if this one is also producing golf ball size hail right now. And in the path of this one, so just to the north of Bloomingdale, Schaumburg, south of Elgin, if we get some of the towns that are right up in this area, yeah, there we go. Let's get it at 30 miles an hour. There we go. So here we go. So we got Wayne, Hanover, Schaumburg, I don't know how to say that one, and Palatine. So anyway, I'm not Italian, so I don't have the Chicago stuff here. Anyway, so this storm now heading off to the east-northeast. Not seeing any. Let's turn the LSRs back on, see if we have any LSRs on this one yet. Again, there it is. Look at that. So let's go ahead and see what that LSR is. Again, local storm reports, golf ball size hail, we called it. live on the air right now. So again, golf ball size hail falling, moving into the Schaumburg area. So let's go back down here to Milton real quick. This one heading into a much higher populated area, and we're going to track this one live as it also comes across Chicago. But right now, this is the main player. This is the one that we've been watching as it heads towards Schiller Park here. Again, Provesso to the north, just to the north of York. Here's the inflow coming in. Justin highlighting that for us. Our core right in here. If we switch to our correlation coefficient, our large hail tracker, look at it just lighting up like a Christmas tree in here. Right on 64 right now, heading into 294. Just finished up on 355, but the traffic jam has already been created on 355. There is going to be a ton of traffic right now with a bunch of hail damaged cars up and down 355, where that storm just pummeled right across the interstate. Now it's coming up on 294 here, and then 190 right in here. So 190, 294 interchange about to get impacted here as it heads into Leyden and Proviso, or just to the north of the Proviso area. We're going to watch this storm, and this storm is going to go all the way to the lake. Okay. Now, once it gets a little closer to the lake, it will begin to pull in some cold air from the lake. So the Lake Michigan right here, right behind my head here, you can see Lake Michigan. And Lake Michigan produces a lot of cold air, and that cold air will be inhaled into this storm. So this is a breathing engine, right? So it's got its exhaust that is blowing out here, but once the cold air comes in from the south, it will get funneled into this storm, and that will actually help to weaken or cut it off. But until it gets there, and again, we have a strong south wind coming out because of this large storm system that we're tracking. That's cutting off this flow from the lake. So until it gets close enough, this storm is not going to be impacted. So we're talking about another 10 to 20 to 30 minutes before this storm potentially starts to weaken and move across Lake Michigan. Okay? So big time storm again, just to the north of York. Right now, here's 83, Highway 83 right here. And it's to the south of this right here. I don't know what this one is here, so don't have the number on that one, but just to the south of that. And again, really just setting right on 64 is our big concern. To the east of 355 or 290 right here. Okay, so 290 comes across, 190 comes down right through here. So again, it's going to come right across the 294 junction here, the 294, the 190. This whole area right in here about to be impacted with golf ball size hail, potentially larger hail, as well as this thing is pulsed up more than it's pulsed down as it moves across the city. So let's go ahead and flip back to our radar view so we can see exactly, take you back to more of a base reflectivity view so we can see where the heavy stuff is. And again, the heaviest showing up right now, right on the 64 corridor, right on Highway 64. That's the area that we're watching, really being impacted by this significant severe thunderstorm. Notice, we still have the dark streaks. Those dark streaks, that's not something wrong with your phone, your computer, your TV. Those dark streaks are the destructive tag being put on this warning from the National Weather Service. That means they think that this is a significant severe weather event ongoing right now in the Chicago metro. Let's go ahead and take a look at the warning here for this particular storm here. So we're going to highlight the warning here. That's going to give us what the National Weather Service, and they've consistently been on the low end with this, which is a little bit shocking if I'm being honest, because we've had several reports of baseball size hail. They're coming in at golf ball size hail. Continued, so this warning now extended though till 2:45 p.m. That's what we've been talking about, is that this storm is going to go to the lake, okay? It's going to make it there, and then once it gets the cold air, that's when we'll see things weaken. But we've got some time still. We've got a lot of time before this thing gets to the lake. It's got to cross the 294 corridor. It's got to come up here on I-90. It's going to go just to the south of Evanston and just to the north of downtown Chicago. So right between downtown Chicago and Evanston, that's where this storm is headed, as long as it doesn't make any changes. Justin, let's go and do a track from right here where the core is, straight across into the Evanston area. And just get an idea here where this thing, so again, headed off to the east-northeast at about 30 miles an hour. So that's going to put us, again, just off the lake in about an hour, which is why the warning goes till 2:45. So Villa Park at 148, Elmhurst at 154, 203 Leyden, North Park at 2:09, and then Evanston, or just to the south of Evanston, around 2:25 p.m. And then the storm exits off the lake, and that will be the end of this particular hailstorm right here. Okay, so again, here's our new update now. Let's go ahead and flip back to our correlation coefficient. There it is. Look at all that. I mean, this thing just continues to drop hail. So there is a lot of cold air aloft this morning with these storm systems. So we call it lapse rates, and the lapse rates are extremely favorable for large hail. This storm has warm air that it's able to tap into. It's utilizing those lapse rates to produce very, very large hail right now. So here it is, just to the north of Proviso to Leyden. Let's go ahead and zoom in. We'll get some more intersections and some more towns and locations here for you, just to give you exactly what's going on in this area. So as Justin zooms us in here, it's going to show us exactly what we want to see here. So here's 64. Really, this storm almost has made a little bit of a right turn and is almost moving due east right now. So again, crossing 294, 290, this whole junction interchange. I know I've sat in some traffic here before, and if you're in this area right now, Melrose Park, really just getting pummeled right now as this thing. And I want to say Love Field is just to the south of this area. So we'll see this go just to the north of Love Field, probably causing some travel delays with flights. But again, back here to Elmhurst, Addison, all getting big hail. And just to the south of Woodale, maybe a little bit of hail up to Woodale, but for the most part, it's right here. This is the corridor that we're most concerned with. If we switch it back to our base reflectivity, this should all line up for us, showing us exactly what it is that we're looking at, and there it is. That's our zone. This is where lots of thunderstorm activity going on up here, but the hail is not nearly as big in this part of the storm as it is in this part of the storm, okay? So this is where we're really watching for the largest hail, okay? Let's go ahead and zoom back out again here as we take a look at kind of what's going on in Chicago. So we had 2 storms that we were concerned about, really 3 storms that we've been tracking, all of them with the destructive tag. Okay, so the other storms, let's go ahead and flip to our correlation coefficient. Again, you can see the low spot there. We've been tracking this low spot right up here, right in the corner of the warning, and then we have a big hailstorm up here just to the northeast of Rockford. But not really impacting as many people as these storms down here. So let's go ahead and zoom in back here to this storm just to the north of Aurora. Whoop. Got excited there and went to my Proviso storm. We're going to go back to the storm to the northwest there, where we can take a look again exactly what's going on with this particular storm right here. Here it is, just to the west of Bloomingdale. All right, so here it is. So South Elgin, Novak Park. This is the area probably with the largest hail right now, setting on 25. This is just south of Elgin. Here's Highway 20. Here's I-90 right here. So we're talking about 10 miles or so to the south of I-90. This area right here is the location that we're most concerned with. This is where we think the largest hail's. Flip us over to base reflectivity, Justin. Let's take a look. There it is. You can see it. This storm, again, dropping some fairly large hail. Just reported not too long ago some golf ball size hail with this one. This one continues to move up towards Hanover and Bartlett, and so it's going to move right into this zone right here. Maybe a little bit weaker than it was just a few minutes ago, but we're going to continue to watch this one to potentially produce some large hail as well. This northern warning, which they've kind of warned this whole cluster of storms. And let's take a look at some of the wind speeds that are coming out. We haven't looked at those in just a little bit. Let's go ahead and flip to wind, and then let's zoom out. And yeah, there's definitely a couple of pockets that I'm interested in. Let's zoom in right into this area right here. See what we've got going on, because there's definitely some higher wind speeds here. You can see how we have winds going in different directions, kind of all over the place. This is an area that I would be concerned with some sort of microburst or downburst potentially ongoing right now. This is in the Roselle, just to the north of Bloomingdale. Here you can see it now right over 290. So this is the 290, 390 junction right here. This area could be potentially having some fairly strong winds, maybe up to 60 miles per hour in this area. Just to the north of Bloomingdale and Bartlett. Notice it's not with our severe thunderstorm, which is at least our hailer, which is back here. Lighter winds with that, winds 30 to 40 miles an hour with that particular storm. But this one right here, another severe thunderstorm producing some pretty gusty winds. The hail is not the concern with this one as much as the wind is, okay? So this is at 150 right now. Again, we're tracking severe weather. For those of you just joining, we're tracking severe weather in the Chicago metro area where we've seen hail up to the size of baseballs and winds potentially up to 70 miles per hour. And the National Weather Service in Chicago has gone ahead and issued what we call the destructive tag. That's these black bars that you see where we're able to highlight these as having a destructive tag on the warning. And that's because, again, baseball size hail and 70 plus mile per hour winds are possible with all of these storms. And that's been the big concern as these storms move off to the east and to the northeast across the entire Chicago metro. Let's go ahead and bounce back out here with the wind on just to see if we have any other areas that we're really concerned about. And this is most likely probably our warm front potentially, or some sort of gust front that's extending across here. Let's go ahead and zoom in here. This is where our severe thunderstorm that has been producing nonstop golf ball size hail or larger as it moves across the city here. And you can see possibly some high wind here. If we switch to base reflectivity, I bet this is the cutoff of our precipitation. We have some sort of range folding or something going. Yeah, that's the cutoff of our precipitation right there. So could see some high winds with that. But look at the storm structure. It's almost gotten a little bit more impressive here as it moves off just to the east of Addison now and right up to the 294 corridor. We have a really big area of inflow now going into this storm. You can see the hook coming around the back side. So this is some potential for some higher winds. Even if the radar doesn't pick it up, we're going to see some higher winds out of the northwest now coming into York. Okay, so some stronger winds coming into York out of the northwest. An inflow wind at 20 to 30 miles per hour going into the storm. And then up here to the north, we have a cold, rainy, haily wind out of the east-northeast at 30 to 40 miles an hour, potentially isolated gusts up to 60 miles per hour. Let's go ahead and switch back to our correlation coefficient. That detects our large objects. Everything lining up exactly where you'd expect it. The largest hail right in here, and then also back here by Addison. So two little pockets right here where the biggest hail, potentially up to golf ball size, is falling right now in these two locations. Big hail, golf ball size hail. This is 2294, and this is everything heading up towards Addison. And so, again, really concerned about the hail falling in this area. A little bit smaller than what we've been tracking, okay? So as we go back and look at the history of the storm, again, up to baseball size hail in Oswego. But right now, coming right down York Street here, right over Addison, we've had actually over baseball size hail in Oswego. Leo, thank you for the report, though. Definitely some very large hail in Oswego. There's our update now, pushing the storm a little bit further to the east here. So just to the north of 20. So now heading into Elmwood Park. Let's go ahead and flip back to our base reflectivity here, see if we can see a little bit. I don't think that has updated yet. I think that's still the same one that we're looking at. Zoom up just a little bit further to the north here. And switch to our, now let's look at the correlation coefficient again. There it is. So there's our bigger hail now right here over Layden, just right on 19 and just to the south. If we zoom in on this core, let's take a look at some of the locations being impacted with this here. So we're going to zoom in. Look at all the population in here. Just a lot of people being impacted. Most likely some sort of park right in here. You can see some of the roads, some of the trails and things like that. But here's River Road, now getting golf ball size hail. Rose Street running right through the center of this. Here's Layden, Schiller Boulevard, Chestnut Avenue. All of this area right now here in the Chicago suburbs being impacted with golf ball size hail as this storm continues to move to the east and occasionally with wobbles to the northeast and really just impacting a lot of people with some significant severe weather. So the time right now, we're up to 1:54 p.m. We've been tracking this storm now for about 35 or 40 minutes here. Again, as it's moved across most of the city. Okay, so we're going to zoom back out. We're going to take a look at the hail path again on this, just to show you the scope and how large of an area this thing is actually impacted. Because, you know, this is still the big player right now is this one particular hailstorm. There's our warnings right there. And so as we get the hail path loaded in, look at this thing as it just trucked off from the northeast here and kind of wobbled a little bit to the east. But several storms coming into the Chicago metro area. This one up near Rockford. So just a lot of activity impacting really the Great Lakes region here, but specifically around Chicago. And we've seen just some large hail paths that just continue to move east. Okay, so we're going to switch back to base reflectivity. I'll show you what we've got going on with all the storms here. Let's zoom out just a little bit more. Get an idea of some of the coverage of all the storms. So again, we have this one severe thunderstorm up here that's been causing some very significant hail just to the north of the Rockford area. That's a very impactful area, an area that we're concerned with as well. If we zoom out even further, just to get an idea, it'll show you the scope of what we have going on. Okay, so first of all, here's the concern, right? Is that this is not the main show, but it has done a lot of damage already. Okay, so the worst of the worst is still yet to come. So here's what we're expecting. Okay, so this morning the warm front fired several severe thunderstorms over parts of Iowa. Those severe thunderstorms have moved all the way across the warm front and impacted now Chicago. So Davenport and Cedar Rapids had impactful hail this morning. Several communities, cities, and towns have been impacted across northern Illinois, and we've had up to baseball-sized hail in Chicago, near Oswego and Aurora. We've also had baseball-sized hail in Davenport. All of that occurred this morning, not necessarily unexpectedly, but well before the main show. The main show itself, we're expecting, as we have a Pacific cold front and a dry line that's all the way back here in Iowa, runs all the way down through Missouri, through eastern Kansas, into eastern Oklahoma, and you can see we've actually got our first severe thunderstorm warning already underway in parts of western Missouri, and a lot more of this is going to fire and expand into this area where we expect, again, baseball-sized hail. We expect lots of potential strong and violent tornadoes, high wind events, all kinds of stuff moving through the area, and we're just going to continue to see that. So that's what we expect, and we expect to do more live coverage as this area expands and explodes and more severe weather breaks out across the country, okay? So here's what we've got, though. So we're going to dive back into Chicago where we have real weather ongoing right now. So the time is 1:57. We've been doing coverage of severe weather in the Chicago metro area now for really around 35, well, almost an hour now, we'll say, as these storms moved into the Chicago metro. Our one big storm that we're most concerned about is this one that's moving just to the north. It has an abundance of dry, warm, humid air that's being funneled into this thing, and that's what's kept this thing going. This is the same storm that hit Davenport this morning and has literally moved right up into Chicago from Davenport, okay? Producing anywhere from quarter to golf ball to baseball to even bigger than baseball size hail off and on since it came from Davenport, Iowa, okay? So this storm now moving closer to the lake, and at some point when it gets to the lake, we expect the colder water will impact it, but I think it'll be after it gets offshore, okay? So we're going to continue to watch it here. Let's flip over to our correlation coefficient, make sure that some of these other storms aren't producing anything, and they continue not to. So we'll flip back to our base reflectivity. You can see the low area right here. So if we zoom in, see some of the communities now being impacted. Again, we've been covering this all the way across. So Northwood Park right now just being pummeled with large hail. I saw a report of Schaumburg getting some pea-sized hail. That's from some of those other storms to the north. Not necessarily producing as big of hail, but definitely could see some hail. Okay, so here's Northwood Park. If we switch to our correlation coefficient here, that's going to give us, wow, look at that. I think this storm has maybe intensified a little bit here. Don't be shocked if some larger than golf ball size hail reports come in now with this particular storm here. Right along 50, this is 90 right here. Here's 50, 90 running from southeast to northwest here. It's already past the junction here where 294 comes in. Here's 19. So it's a fairly compact area, only a couple miles across, where this storm is just making its path and really just impacting this area. Lincolnwood, south side of Lincolnwood, you're up next with some impactful hail moving into this area. Let's zoom in just a tad bit more here, see if we can get a few more roads, a few more locations to pop in here, because this storm means business right now. This storm continues to produce significant hail. So Montrose Avenue right here, it's running right across you right now. If you're on Montrose Avenue, you are being impacted with some extremely significant hail right now. Right off I-90 right here. Here's Northwood Park. Here's Bryan, pick all the worst ones to say, Northeast River Road, Addison Street, just to the north. So Addison Street to the north being impacted, Belmont Avenue, and this storm most likely came across Addison. It was over Layden earlier. Schiller Park has been impacted with hail. This whole area back here to the southwest. Justin, back it up just a couple of frames here. We'll just do them one frame at a time, and I will back it up to see exactly what this storm, so you can see how it moves, right? So storm was there, comes up over Layden, then it's gonna move over here to Dunning, and that's where we're at now. Notice how the greens, how the area with all the green, how that area continues to get bigger and more green and more blue. That tells us that the hail size is coming up with this particular storm. Again, moving off to the east-northeast at 30, the black lines tell us that we have a destructive tag that has been put on this severe thunderstorm warning. That means the National Weather Service thinks this storm is a more impactful storm than your average hailstorm, okay? So as this moves from east to northeast, this destructive, and we're gonna call it destructive because that's what it is, most likely, this particular hailstorm will end up doing close to or well over $1 billion in damage. That's what we're talking about here, folks, is a very significant hailstorm that has moved all the way from Oswego, all the way from Aurora, all the way across the city of Chicago. And one of the more impactful hailstorms potentially that Chicago has seen in a long time here. So here it is, Foster Avenue, Elstone right here. Look at the hail coming down right here. If we switch over to our base reflectivity, we always want to relate that. There it is. There it is. Inflow coming in right up I-90 right now. So I-90, if you're driving up I-90, you're getting a push. You're getting a push in the rear. It's sending you up the highway, okay? This storm is doing that. This is where our updraft is. This is where everything is being impacted. Looks like we may have a new warning that was just issued. Let's go ahead and query the warning here to give us an idea of what they're still talking about. I'm assuming they're going golf balls in 60 still, 2:45 p.m. I think there's a potential that we have larger than golf ball size hail in this particular thunderstorm. This storm definitely means business. Can we flip on the product that tell us the hail size products? That'll tell us, huh? So this will give us an idea what the radar's thinking. So right here we have our circle. All right, this tells us that it has rotation. We know the storm has rotation. That's what's producing the large hail. Radar maximum hail size 1.74, 100% probability of hail, 80% of severe. The Titan impact is a 4, which is pretty high for hail. And this is moving to the northeast now at 40 miles an hour. So it's picked up a little bit of steam, which makes sense. Again, we thought it would be off the lake by 2:45. It's getting there a little quicker. It's moving at 10 to 15 miles per hour faster than it was, which again, will get this off the lake a little bit sooner. So we'll close this off. We'll switch back to our correlation coefficient, which will tell us, and look at that. Just dropping some big hail right here. Here's 19, here's 14, here's 14, here's 41, and here's 90 right here. So this whole zone right here, this is the area that we're watching. Foster Avenue, right in the center of it right now, just getting pummeled. Mount Rose Avenue, just getting pummeled right now. Everything to the east of 90 and 94 now, but this whole area really being impacted here. Here's Addison Avenue, Addison Street. It's going to go just to the north of you. Maybe some hail down here on Addison Street. Looks like a point or a pier right here. We're going to start to see some hail moving on. There's going to be some videos of some splashes here in Lake Michigan coming, because there's again, there's a storm of brewing and it's headed right towards Lake Michigan now, and eventually I think it'll die, but it's got to get there first, which means everybody in between Lake Michigan and this hailstorm, which again, just to the northwest of I-94, are all going to be impacted by this storm. Everything right in here. So Bryan Marr Avenue, let's see here, here's Ashland Avenue, Clark Street, this whole area, all getting impacted with large hail. Okay, everybody's getting it. This again, golf ball to 2-inch size hail now, potentially lime size or lime size, hen egg size, all those things that are around 2 inch in diameter. That's what's falling in this part of the storm now. As it continues to move off to the east, wouldn't even be shocked if we get a couple of reports a little bigger than this. Let's back it up one frame just to show them where it came from. So there it was, right there. So over Montrose, you can see just east, just a little north of east as we bounce it forward. So that was at 2 o'clock. and then and you can see the hail started right here. So we go ahead and bounce it forward one frame, Justin.
Sorry, I'm multitasking over here. Move it forward.
Yep, so you can see, so in 1 minute, so this storm moves fairly quickly here across. And then if we pull it forward one more frame, is that it? Okay, there it is. So now we're at 205. Let's zoom out. Let's see what we're looking at here. Flip to our base reflectivity. And so you can see now, look how the inflow kind of gets broken up here just a little bit. I think we may be starting to see some of the impact, some of the feeling of the lake now impacting the storm. We do still see some low CCs up here. That's a little bit of a shift. Okay, so let's switch to our correlation coefficient. So you can see it's now moved up into this area where we were tracking it down here. It's now shifted up into this area. So if we go backwards and then forwards again here, let's just kind of look at how this evolves. Watch how that's kind of interesting how it almost merges and then splits. Just really, really crazy to watch. So we had two pockets of large hail. Now it's kind of merged back into this one pocket here to the east of Evanston. And again, probably feeling some of the effects of some of the cold water here from Lake Michigan now starting to have an impact on this storm. Doesn't look quite as strong as it did. Let's go ahead and update the, let's look at the storm impacts from Max here. So Max is going to give us an idea of what the storm, and it may not have updated yet, but I think if we query that, let's see if it tells us anything. Okay, so that's still the same information that we had with our previous update. So Max hasn't quite got the full scan, so it's got to scan the full width of the storm. Once it does that, that'll give us a new update, and I think it'll probably tell us that the storm has weakened just a little bit. Let's go ahead and close that off. Switch back to base reflectivity, and again, you can see kind of stretched into this whole complex here. But this area right now, just right over 58, just to the west of 41, and right on, I think this is 90 right here, really being impacted with some significant potential hail, up to golf ball size hail now. Now earlier we were talking about possibly 2-inch hail, but you can see switching the color of the arrows to blue, the inflow now coming in across the lake, and that's causing some problems. So I think, did we get a new update on that query there, or is that still the same one?
Let's find out.
I think it might still be the same one.
Yeah, it's the same one.
Okay, so let's zoom out. Let's see what all storm attributes we have. So all the storm attributes that Max is giving us right now. So again, 2:07 p.m. right now. Been tracking this storm across Chicago for about as long as an hour now, a little over an hour. We have several little pockets. I'm curious about this storm right here, Justin, just to the north right here. So we can take a look at this one, and that'll give us some more information. Click on this, query this. If I can get it. Right there we go.
Nope, that's the thunderstorm warning.
That's the warning, so 1.5. And they've got this one warned for golf ball size hail. So this could be interesting there. So it's got a 2-inch marker now on it. So it's saying that it's getting a little bit more impactful, a little bit stronger. Moving to the northeast at 37 miles per hour. That's this cell right here. About to move off into the lake though, so maybe a little too late for that.
Oh, I actually clicked on the one that's further to the west, not the northern one. Sorry.
This one right here?
Yeah, that was the 2-inch one.
Okay, well let's zoom in on that storm. Let's switch to base reflectivity. Let's take a look at what that one's doing. So we're going to go ahead and zoom in. We're going to hone into this part of the storm now, the back side of it here. And this is a nice little cell here. So if we switch to our correlation coefficient, do we have anything drop down? Look at that. There it is. So this is Schaumburg. Earlier was dropping P size. We had to report a P size. The storm might be getting a little bit stronger here now, getting some warm air, getting its own air, right? Maybe this storm to the east that's been influencing it as it begins to weaken, move over the lake, gives this chance of storm to breathe and a little chance to have its own circulation, feel its own energy, and maybe, just maybe, we're going to see this storm take off in intensity, okay? So right along 72, right on I-90 right now, hail size could be increasing as this storm moves off to the east-northeast. It's going to try to make a run here at 53, just to the south of Palatine and over towards Wheeling and Forest River, maybe just to the north of Forest River. That's the direction this storm is headed. And again, hail size might be increasing with this particular storm. We have this lower area right in here of what we call this our correlation coefficient. This tells us if there are large objects in the storm, And so we're tracking this live now as it moves off to the east-northeast and the northeast. And again, 210. This is all the way back, so we've moved through Elgin. I think we tracked this storm earlier producing golf ball size hail, potentially now trying to re-increase its intensity, again, as it moves through Chicago. So really, really have to watch this whole area as these storms and as these impacts occur, because these storms just keep getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and pulsing up and down as they do so, moving across the city. So let's go back. Let's take a look at our storm as it gets ready to move off of the coast there in Evanston, back into Chicago. There it is right there. You can see still a nice lowered area here. Large hail now moving into Evanston up to golf ball size hail. Comes and wraps all the way around to Morton Grove, just to the north of Lincolnwood here. Here's 94, so 94 getting some hail right now. And then this storm now beginning to splash some hail down, putting some ice in Lake Michigan. I don't think Lake Michigan froze this year, and we're putting some ice in it now. So it's a little late in the year, but we are getting some there. So just to the south of Wilmette, and again, continues to move off to the east-northeast. And over the next 10 to 15 minutes, this storm will now exit into Lake Michigan, and the impacts will be over with. Let's switch to base reflectivity, take a look at it. We'll be able to see the inflow coming right into here. There it is, a little bit more updated. So here's the impacts coming across to Evanston right here. This is where the large hail is falling. Here's the inflow coming in, again off the lake, but hasn't impacted the core of the storm yet enough to cause the hail size to completely drop on this particular storm. But again, dropping probably around golf ball size hail, maybe a little smaller, maybe a little bigger, but really close to golf ball size hail, I think, will be the consensus of this storm as it moves across Evanston and off the lake. Let's go ahead and zoom in. We'll give them a few more, some closer locations and roads in here over the Evanston area here. Okay, so here we go. Here's Main Street. Here's Chicago Avenue. Wow, Chicago Avenue getting some big hail right now. Here's Greenleaf Street, McCormick Boulevard right here, Lion Street right up here. So if we switch to our correlation coefficient, that gives us, there's our zone right there. That's the area being impacted. Everybody with the greens and the yellows getting golf ball size hail. If we saw these switch to blues, we would be saying they were tennis balls and baseball size hail. But as it stands right now, we're looking at golf balls. Excuse me, I was sneeze. Whew, man, allergies right now in Oklahoma. All right, so here it is right here. And let's go ahead and take a look at the storm impacts, the max impacts that we have for this to see if the intensity earlier was at golf ball size is what storm impacts were showing. Again, here it is right up here. So we're going to query that. And again, hail size, and we thought the storm had maybe shown some signs of weakening. Moving to the northeast at 38 miles per hour, 1.48 inch, so that's ping pong ball size hail. Probably still dropping a little bit close to golf ball size right now as it moves off the lake. That's what it generated. This is what it's trying to generate. Here's what it is generating, okay? So this 1.48, we're measuring that. We're measuring that in the hail growth zone, so 15 to 25,000 feet up. The storm is making ping pong ball size hail. Those should fall right up here on the coast or as it moves off. The golf balls right now, which is what was being produced earlier, are now moving offshore, okay? I think we had a new update here on our storm impacts here. So we'll query that to see, there it goes, off the shore now. Largest hail now moves off the shore. That was actually the one from before, that's interesting. So let's make sure that the radar's moved forward all the way. Zoom out, let's switch to base reflectivity just a bit here. And I think what we're gonna see is the core, there it is, inflow now completely over Lake Michigan, and the core has now moved off the coast. The largest hail now falling in the ocean, okay? So that's what we got. Oh, you switched radars, didn't you?
What? I don't think so.
Well, there's no, okay, maybe not. All right, so let's go back up here to this storm near Wheeling. This storm is looking pretty mean right now. You can see the inflow coming into this, so I think we're gonna see some more impacts now. We're gonna shift our focus back here towards Wheeling, Rolling Meadows. Again, just came out of Schaumburg. We had a report of pea-size hail in Schaumburg, but if we switch to our correlation coefficient, I think we're gonna see, yep, there it is, dropping down. This area is getting a little bit bigger now. So I don't know if we're to golf balls yet, but Palatine, that's the area that we're watching right now. Let's see what our max impacts are.
Looks like the warning just updated too.
Okay, okay, we just got that new one there. So let's see what that guy's got. And again, so 1.39 it was at, a little bit larger earlier, so maybe we're in a cycle, we'll see. At 1.39, we'll see what the new warning has for this storm as well. Again, right now just to the north of Rolling Meadows near Palatine. It's already moved through South Barrington. So warning is for ping pong ball size hail. There's Palatine right now being impacted. Already moved past Schaumburg. Wheeling, you're up next though. And winds up to 70 miles per hour still possible with this storm. So could be some high winds here. We'll take a look at that now. So let's close that off. Let's see what the winds look like on this particular storm. Elgin, I think the bigger hail was to the southwest. It kind of went into a cycle when it went from Elgin to Schaumburg. Largest hail in the Chicago area, Oswego and Aurora were the big winners or losers for today. So here's a look at your wind speed impacts right here. Probably the strongest winds, mainly I would say in the 30 to 40 mile per hour range. Not seeing anything too significant with this right now. And again, probably hail closer to $1 to $50 with this particular hailstorm as it moves across the city. And again, moving from east-northeast, heading into Wheeler right now. So let's go ahead and zoom back out here. And we'll see exactly what we've got going on with coverage. Again, been doing coverage now for the Chicago Metro since about 1 o'clock this afternoon. We did coverage earlier this morning, 9:30 to 10 o'clock. 10:30 this morning in Davenport. These are the same storms that moved through Davenport. In fact, the storm that hit Davenport right now has exited off into Lake Michigan, and that's the area that moved through the Davenport with baseball-sized hail. Also produced baseball-sized hail in southwest Chicago and made intermittent golf ball-sized hail as it moved all the way across the city here. And so now we have this one last storm. We have two storms here. This one marginally severe with high winds. Possible quarter-size hail, mainly nickel to penny-size hail. And then we've got this one back here still producing some quarter-size hail as it moves to the east-northeast and heads towards the coast of Lake Michigan here. So again, moved through Schaumburg earlier with some pea-size hail. That was a report sent in to us here. You saw it live either on YouTube or Facebook. You're able to track us and watch these storms with us as they move across the city here. And there's a new update on the radar. Notice how the little hook, not quite as pronounced. There is a little shower here popping up that could influence the inflow. So it could cool off the amount of warm inflow that's headed into that storm. So that's a potential here. We'll watch that closely. If we switch back to our correlation coefficient, that'll give us an idea of exactly what we've got here. And there it is. So that's the area that we're watching right now. Right there, small area. Again, it's gotten smaller, so we saw that with our max impacts product telling us that the hail size had come down. And again, we're measuring that up a little bit higher in the sky. And so we see those impacts now falling to the ground as less than what they were trying to be just a little bit ago. Still some hail out over the lake, so we're watching that as well. But this is the one warning that we have left now in Chicago. So Wheeling, Niles, Schaumburg, you're in the clear. This one storm really right in here. So we've got a big warning that covers this whole area, but really this is the area that we're most concerned with right here over Wheeling. We're gonna see if it decides to do anything, but right now has weakened just a little bit. So at 219, this storm is not quite as strong as it was about 20 minutes ago. So we're gonna continue to watch it and see what it does. Let's switch back to our base reflectivity here. And there it is. You can still see it right there. Again, the bigger hail actually extending off to the north of that particular storm. Let's zoom out. Let's get an idea of the entire city. You can see we have another severe thunderstorm warning up here to the north. We've been tracking that storm as well. Just missed Rockford to the north of Rockford. Dropped some fairly large hail with that one. And so continuing to watch, again, multiple severe thunderstorms. Here's one just across the state line in Wisconsin. This storm was the one that just missed north of Rockford. And then we have this storm here near Wheeling. Justin, you got something for us?
Yeah, that is 5-star.
Oh, Chicago is?
Yep.
All right, so officially a 5-star map in Chicago because, again, such an impactful storm that moved from Aurora all the way across. We still have a severe thunderstorm watch, And again, I expect that this potentially is a $1 billion plus loss for the folks of Chicago. So this is a big time severe weather event as we have this 5-star map unfolding now. And so again, this is the area right here. One severe thunderstorm here, one here, and then one potential severe thunderstorm in southern Wisconsin. And those are the areas that are being impacted the most. So again, this storm not quite as strong. Really all the activity has kind of weakened just a little bit, especially as it pulls off the warm front. And really we begin to reset the atmosphere for locations further west. So let's zoom back out here and let's take a look at the whole country, or not the whole country, but at least parts of the Midwest. This is an interesting little storm possible warning down here. This is probably fairly close to Columbia. So that'll be an area that we definitely need to watch. You can see we have high wind warnings. We'll have winds over 60 miles per hour without a single thunderstorm in southwest Kansas, western Oklahoma, and all of the Texas Panhandle. Very similar to what we saw last Friday, where really from I-35 to the west, they had winds in excess of 65. Even one gust measured at 77 miles per hour without a single thunderstorm around. So that was some very intense wind. But we've got one severe thunderstorm warning. I don't think that we have anything to the south, but let's drop down to the south, because we're going to be watching severe weather from Chicago through all of central and eastern Iowa, all the way down into Missouri, all the way down into Arkansas, eastern Oklahoma, eastern Kansas. So we're talking Kansas City, we're talking Springfield, Joplin, Tulsa, Dallas. Heck, I mean, the way the dry line is slowed down and even retreated, I don't know that storms will be able to fire, but Oklahoma City is not completely in the clear right now. St. Louis, you're in the firing line. Little Rock, you're in the firing line. Dallas, Little Rock, Arkansas, there's our dry line. It's right in that area right now, and it's shifting to the east, but as it comes to the east, it'll actually back up. And there's your warm front. This is the area where the worst of the storms will occur. We'll be right up in here. But we will see thunderstorms fire all along the dry line, potentially through all the overnight hours. This will all shift off to the east, up to the northeast, refire another round of severe storms tonight as they move into Chicago into the first thing in the morning. And then Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, parts of Kentucky and Illinois, and parts of Wisconsin, you guys are in the firing line for tomorrow, a very large enhanced risk. And so we're really concerned about that risk as well. Justin, it looks like we have radar here over Columbia. Can we dive in there just to see exactly what's going on on that severe thunderstorm real quick?
Yeah, I looked at it on radar scope. Doesn't look great, but we can look at it.
Yeah, we'll take a look at it for them. So again, a little cluster of storms here. It's got a nice hook to it, so that tells us the wind shear is definitely there. Sedalia is where we're looking at. It doesn't look like it's, Columbia is right up here, so storm's still a little bit away from Columbia. And again, moving off to the northeast here, as you can tell, most likely warned for $0.5 and 60 mile per hour winds. Expect that the intensity of these storms definitely going to go up through the afternoon, and we'll see more stuff fire back to the west. So this is just an early advancement of some of the storms as the impulse of energy now comes out over the warm sector and begins to fire. So we'll go take one last look up here in Chicago. Again, most of the storms now beginning to weaken. So not as impactful, but again, significant hail, baseball-sized hail has fallen in Chicago, and we've had a very, very active day with the storm. So as we zoom in here, let's flip over to our correlation coefficient and zoom in there, and just to give us an idea of what these things are doing. So again, here's our storm over the lake. This one's the one that produced all the big hail. This storm over Wheeling continues to be there. It's producing some hail, but seems to be on the lower end of the big hail. Let's see what our max impacts are, just to see if anything's coming up. So we'll do our due diligence here before we stop, and you can see not even showing anything over this particular storm. So again, it continues to weaken as it moves to the east and northeast. It'll move just to the north of Glencoe. Eventually we'll move off the coast. And I think that will be it. So just to recap again, we've tracked storms from Davenport all the way to Chicago, several very, very impactful hailstorms. We still have one marginal hailstorm there that we're tracking in the Wheeling area, but for the most part, activity has waned down just a little bit. And so we're going to go ahead and discontinue our coverage again, but covering a very, very impactful storm from Oswego to Aurora, all the way across the north side of Chicago through the suburbs. A lot of people impacted, most likely over $1 billion in damage today in the Chicago metro from hail, and we're just getting started. We'll be back this evening to do more live coverage as severe weather develops across Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Texas, and Arkansas. And as we cover those, we'll jump back on live if any impactful events are headed towards any major population. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you have a great afternoon.